walk you all through more of the process of building graphics, and I want to give you guys as much information as possible to be able to build graphics on your own system. The first thing that I would recommend is to run a backup of your system. Don't work on the main system without a backup. Okay, it's just that simple. You want to make sure that you back up your network engine that your device is on. In this case, what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be backing up or building a graphic for an air handler. Before we get too deep into it, guys, I would appreciate it if you would like and share the video. Also, subscribe to my channel. Leave me a comment down below. And you want to create an equipment definition. I talked about that in other videos, so be sure to go and check that out on my channel. Here I am going to be building a new equipment definition inside this folder. It's in the equipment definitions folder on the server. These have to be put into a proper location. I have the folder highlighted there where I'm going to put the equipment definition. I'm going to go to facility, and I am going to select insert new equipment definition. Okay, this is from the top down list. You can see it here on screen. This is where you're going to build your equipment definitions, and if you needed to create any folders underneath the main equipment definition folder, that is also where you would do that from as well. Keep it organized, keep it nice and neat, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay, and again, guys, if you want to help support the channel, you can go through the affiliate links down below. Anything you buy through there goes to help support what we do here. You need to have a good understanding of equipment definitions for the purpose of understanding graphics and understanding Metasys MUI as a whole. You will do much better when you understand them. Understanding equipment definitions and equipment objects are the key things. You can see here we have our equipment definition created. We have a blank slate. Okay, we have nothing in here. And by going down to my controller, I'm going to grab that, and for this device, I'm literally going to be adding the entire device to this equipment definition. Okay, if you have multiple systems on one controller, you can break it apart, and I would recommend that you do that. It will make your system function much better. You can see here that everything is populated on this upper panel. The lower panel is what you would see when looking at MUI. Okay, if you're looking at the text panel in MUI, the equipment data in MUI, what you see in the lower panel is how that data would appear. So you can go through, click, and add what you want. You can reorganize things and just put it however you want it. You know, the order that you selected here is how it will appear when you first set this up. And again, guys, keep it all organized. Get the most relevant information to the top of this panel, and you can go through and select it and change it after you have all of this done. But some things I tend to go ahead and grab some key data that I want to populate at the top, and I'll go ahead and grab that and organize it the way that I want it to appear. And then the remaining data that I know will be useful that I do want to add in, I will then select up top and just add that remaining data in. Basically what you're doing here, this is setting up search criteria for the equipment objects that will be created based upon this equipment definition. Okay, that will create those equipment objects for you as you add devices to this equipment definition. By dragging the points in or the controllers in, it is automatically going to populate the points based upon the point naming and things like that within that controller. Okay, you can go in and edit and modify. I'm not going to be covering too much of that in this video, but you can go ahead and modify this to make some of the devices, some of the systems work a little bit better. For example, if you have a system that has different controller types that are doing the same function, such as VAVs that are from different manufacturers or whatever, or different generations, you can go in and add them and make those changes to make it easier to do what you need. And you can see here, just scrolling through, and some of the different points and things that are out there that are on this device. You can see I'm just going ahead and getting all of these in, and there again, guys, I'm just bringing you guys along to show you some of this stuff, to get some information in your hands. Some of it's probably going to be a little long and drug out, but at the same time, I just want to get as much information in your hands as I can. That way you guys will be much better off. Now that I save that, I'm going to open in Discovery. Okay, this is where you're going to add any additional equipment, such as if it was a bunch of VAVs, this is where you're going to add that equipment. Okay, since this is just an air handler, we don't need to add anything else to this. I can change the name, the equipment name, and things like that, and you need to do that especially if you have a system where you have two systems on one controller. For example, if you have a hot water system and a chilled water system controlled by the same device, you would want to go up and add a name for each of those. Even though it's tied to the exact same equipment, you would want to go in and build one equipment definition for the hot water system, build another equipment definition for the chilled water system or whatever, and then make sure that you get the naming correct, because when you're going through adding your equipment objects to the Spaces tab, a whole different video that I've talked about before, guys, so go over my channel, check it out. That's where it's going to come in handy, because being able to differentiate between the names is going to make it easier for you to locate those within your system. This is your Spaces tab. This is where MUI happens. This is what you see in your system. I'm scrolling through here. I can see my folders and everything here. This is the space that I'm going to be putting that equipment object that I created. Okay, underneath the equipment objects folder, you see the tabs here up top and all that. Basically what I'm doing a refresh all, because I want to make sure that I have the latest data, because it doesn't automatically refresh. You can see that little green arrow. It's a download arrow. It's basically saying I want to download because something has changed. I'm going to grab that equipment object that was created, and I'm going to pull that over into my space. You can see here, though, I have got to make sure that I hit that edit button. If I don't, it's not going to let me do that. So I'm going to grab it, I'm going to simply drag it, and then I'm going to drop it into that space for this unit. That is exactly what you would do with any other type of device out there. If it's a VAV, group of VAVs, you would simply save that to the first floor. Once you do that, you go ahead, you hit save, and make sure that everything is where you need it to be. Okay, and this is why you want to keep backups of your system going forward. Don't mess up and then not have anything to go back to. Now here we are in MUI. I have already done my download. I have, or my synchronization, just depending on what you need to do. And we have that air handler populated. You can see that data panel here, the equipment data. This is that lower panel that I will mention in the equipment definitions when you're going in and organizing it. How you organize it in that equipment definition is how it will appear here on this screen. Okay, that is a key thing when organizing your system. Okay, for the equipment data, this is where you're going to organize that. So put it in there, put your relative information up at the top, and set it up the way that it's going to be the most efficient way of you operating your system. What you're going to see me do for some of these graphics is not how I would typically do this. The purpose is to help get some information in your hands. I'm doing it basically the long way. Okay, I'm going to go up to the upper right corner, the three dots. I'm going to select Features Management, Graphics Manager, and then here is the equipment object. Okay, that's what I'm going to tie this to. Okay, since this is just a single air handler, I can add the graphic directly onto the equipment object itself. If this was VAVs, I would link it to equipment definitions, and you can see here this drop down tab. If I was to drop that down to equipment definitions and select that, what I could do then is I would have a list of all of the different equipment definitions that I have. And you can see here, this is an aliased graphic, and if you had multiple VAVs and things like that, if you create an alias graphic, any equipment that is attached to that is going to have that same graphic. Okay, Here for this equipment object, I'm simply going to give this a name. I'm going to add a graphic. I'm just going to give this a name. And then from these tabs here, I can select a pre-built design, a pre-built graphic. And the system is basically going to try to match the points as closely as it can. It does not always get it right, depending on the age of the device and things like that. It does not always get it right, but it does give you some options here to be able to try to get you started on your graphic. Okay, that's the purpose of this, is to try to speed up the process. As I'd mentioned though, we're going to go in here, we're going to grab this graphic, and then I'm going to modify it for our needs. Again, this is not how I would normally do this particular graphic, but we're going to be covering some things in here that is going to help you. Okay, the first thing that I do once I get it up here is I hit save. Okay, as soon as I get this to pop up, I'm going to hit save. I usually will then open another window where I can actually watch the work that I'm doing. Okay, I simply go to page 2. I'm going to change pages here to where the graphics would appear. I've not got the dashboard organized yet. We'll talk about that in a future video. This is the graphic that we just built, and that is how easy it can be to build a graphic in some cases. However, this graphic is not correct for what we need, and that's where we're going to be modifying this graphic some. But it has automatically grabbed a lot of our data, our supply fan status and command, our chilled water, our reheat. Everything is right here for us. We see all of these aliased points. That means there's points inside that graphic that are not in the controller, so we can delete those out, so that's no big deal. Again, guys, this is just to get some information in your hands. But for the most part, it has given us a lot of data. Here is that graphic. This is what it's going to try to grab. You know, it's going to go through here, and if it can match any of these points in your system, it's going to go ahead and grab it and populate it for you. What we see here, this alias point, we know that that's one that does not work. The first thing you need to do is this whole graphic is seen as one object, you got to break it apart. Okay, I'm going to hit this and uncheck that box right there, and that's basically going to break it apart to where it is multiple objects. Okay, this box here, you can see it. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to get rid of it. I don't need it. Okay, so I can hit that, and then again, I'm going to click and drag here, pull this over, I'm going to highlight it, and then I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, this point here, this box, I can do the same with it if I wanted to. I can edit it in some ways. For example, this was one of those alias points. If I click on it in the right spot, it brings up a little trash can, and then I can simply delete it. And that way, it will allow me, but since I don't need that box, I'm just going to get rid of the whole thing. Okay, I can pull those points in down here on the bottom. Again, you can see here we have these points that are aliased. They're not in the system. They're points that do not exist in this system. I'm going to get rid of them. Okay, and there again, until I hit the refresh, anything that I do is not going to show up on my other screen. So I'm going to highlight this point here. I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, I'm going to go down to these others, but let's go back and look at this first. See, we still have not got an update on this. If I do a refresh, that's when it's going to show that. But these other points here that are aliased, I'm going to highlight them and get rid of them. Just going through here, clicking. I don't need them. They're not used for this graphic, so let's just get rid of all of them. Okay, it's that simple to get rid of those data points that you're not using. Okay, it makes it much easier. And if I need to add something, I simply click over here onto this link tab. It brings up my palette, and this is going to bring up where I can select what I'm going to link it to. I'm going to drop this drop down tab, and if I wanted to connect something to a graphic or whatever, or connect a point, I could simply select explicit, and what that's going to do is it's going to pull up just the points that are on this equipment. Okay, and I'm going to simply grab what I want and drag it. That's all you got to do. This is one of the points that I want to grab. I simply click that point. Okay, get my computer to work, and all I got to do is drag it out here just like that. Just click and drag. Whatever points that I want to add to this menu, click and drag. Okay, you can go on down here. Some of the other stuff that I want to get, I'm just going to scroll through here and look to see if there's anything else that I want. Scroll, scroll, and there again, guys, you can customize these in many ways. You can have different panels for different types of things. Once you get into the system and start working with it, you're going to understand more about what you're going to need, what you're going to want, and keep that, that information relevant, keep it to what you want, and organize it the way that you want. Okay. Now I've made those changes, but nothing has changed here. You can see these here. You can see some of this here. I'm going to hit save. Okay. If you don't hit save, it's not going to appear. I'm now going to hit my refresh button. Okay. We're going to hit the refresh. And there again, guys, I'm doing all this live, right? Live within the system. I don't have to wait on anything. And as soon as I do that, as soon as I hit the refresh button, you can see those changes are now showing. Okay, those points that I pulled into this menu are now showing up on my display. Okay, they're there right where I want them to be and giving me the information that I want. It's that simple. Now, you look at some of these other things here, going through here as far as this other data. There's a lot of stuff here as far as this air handler. We're showing on this air handler that it is a return air unit. That is not the case. Okay, there again, guys, I'm doing this to give you some information and make it a little more easier for you. Okay, this is something that is a point that is missing some data. I'm going to highlight that object. I'm going to go over here to my panel. I'm going to find that other data point, that discharge set point, the discharge temp. It might not be, able to populate it for spelling or whatever, but we can fix that. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to pull that into this panel. It gives you this little pop-up. And now when I go in here, I'm going to go up to make sure that of what I need. I'm going to go in here and you can see where we were missing the data. So I'm simply going to have that data point added to this system. Add it to this little panel. Once I get that, once I find it here. And again, guys, you can add any of these points into this that you want, but keep them relevant to the way that your system works. So I'm going to scroll through here and grab the one that I want. Again, just click and drag and drop. Okay, it's that simple. And once I do that, I hit save. You can see here, this one here, this static pressure or discharge air temp, or discharge air static pressure, sorry. I am missing part of the data there. Again, I got this little pop-up window. I hit that little link button, and then I go over into my system, and I find that point and simply drag it and drop it, and then hit save. Okay, it's that simple. And then it will appear on my graphic. Okay, but I do remember now I need to do a refresh. So I'll go up here and hit that refresh. After I've made those changes, I hit that refresh, and then once I do that, you can see that we have the data. Okay, the data is there. What we had missing earlier is now there. Okay, the discharge air temperature, if I had a set point, I could add that set point in there and so on. You have a lot of functionality with this. Some of this other stuff here is not needed. Okay, there's a lot of things here that are not needed and I can get rid of it. Okay, for example, these points here, okay, all this up here, it's not needed. Okay, I just need to get rid of it. That's what I'm going to do, just to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to highlight that, hit that trash can. All this, highlight that, hit that trash can, get rid of it. When you click on any of these objects like this, it's going to bring up that menu, and that's how you would modify it. Okay, all this stuff here, just highlighting it, getting rid of it. Okay, and you can do this as a group, but I'm just showing you each time when you click on one of these, you're going to get this little menu, and that's how you're going to interact with each of these objects. Okay. Down here below, all this data here, stuff that I don't need, I can get rid of it. You don't necessarily have to, because any data that does not appear, that equipment object or that equipment graphic, I should say, that graphic object is not going to appear. Okay, if it's something in there that does not exist, it's simply just not going to appear, as you can see here when I go back and forth between the graphic and what we have on the system. You can see here, I might need to organize this a little bit. I can move over that text, to kind of give myself a little bit of space and just make it work for you. Okay, it does not do a perfect job when you try to create the out-of-the-box graphics, but go in, create it, set it up the way that you want it to. Okay, I can move those over. I can do whatever I need to do with them. Okay, you can see this here, all this stuff here that is there on the system. I can simply get rid of that too because it doesn't exist. I've got to break this ductwork apart. And you've seen that where I highlighted just that ductwork and I deleted it. Right? We've got to modify this a little bit. So I'm just going to go in here. This is my palette. You can see here on the back, this little wheel, it's going to give me all of these tools on the right side of the screen. And I can go down, and it's kind of, you know, categorized here, so just filter through to what you need. And I've got this one here. This is my ductwork tab. This is the part that I want. I want to get this T here. Okay, you can see all of these different ones through here that we have, okay, that you can use. There's a lot of stuff in here that you can use to set up your graphic the way that works for you and the way that it will replicate your system, you know, to make it great. You know, having it set up the way that you need, getting the information on your graphics the way that you need is going to make your job much easier. Okay, it's that simple. Now, you can see here, I'm going to get rid of this. I don't need it because there again, I got to modify all this. And again, I'm doing this for your benefit. What I should have selected from this to do it the way that I needed to do it is either do it from scratch or selected a outside air, 100% outside air unit. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go through and show you how to modify some of these. There's different orders that these objects can be put in. So I'm going to grab this object here first, and I'm just going to throw it in here. And you can see that it's not really going to work for me, but it's going to help me to show you something. You can see that all of my stuff, when I drop this in, it lays it on top of it, and I don't like that. So, okay, it's just covering up everything, and I don't like that. That's not what I need. Okay, that's not what I'm going to do for the system. I'm not going to leave this in here. Okay, and you need to understand also how you can layer this one thing on top of another. Okay, you can go in and order these as far as how they would appear on the screen. It will default to the last thing that you add is going to be what goes on top of everything else. This little menu here, I can simply highlight that, go over here to where I'm going to order this, and I'm going to go down to send to back. Okay, and boom. You can see there it sent that basically to the bottom of the stack. You can imagine all of these layers and things like that is basically just a stack. If you were to stack some cards, that's basically how it is. And if you're wanting one card to appear on top of another one or whatever, then that's how you need to rearrange it. Okay, that's not the block that we need, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and get the T. This is what I'm going to need. So I'm going to grab it and simply drag and drop out into the panel just like this. And again, you see that we are covering up things that we need. Okay, I'm going to get this in here, get it situated the way that I want it. And I'm going to slowly bring it back there, get it close, and then I'm just going to use the arrow keys to get it into place. And then once I do that, I'm going to hit this little menu again, and I'm going to select send to back, and then boom, it's going to put that on the bottom of the stack. It's going to show my coils, and then I can start rearranging things from here. Okay, there's other things that I can do. I can literally just grab this stuff, drag it and drop it, but again, you can see that change is not made yet. That change is not live yet. You can do some of this in MUI offline. I'll probably do another video at some point talking about that, but you know, not for this one. Okay, I'm simply going to drag that up to where I need it, get rid of the things that I don't need, and just start reorganizing it and building out this the way that I need it. All of these here, this whole set of cooling stages and stuff like that, I don't need none of that. I don't need a lot of this stuff. The reheat command, as far as the way that is, all of that extra stuff that's down here at the bottom that is in the graphic, I don't need it. It's just in my way of working, so I can simply highlight all of these, as many as I can, just like that in a group. Hit the trash can, get rid of them. The same for the rest of these here. Just drag, just click and drag, highlight all of them, get rid of them. That's going to give me more room to do what I need to do. Okay, so that's what I can do here. Just go ahead and get a lot of this stuff cleaned up that I don't need and get it set up to where it's going to work for what I need. Okay, all this here, some of this point here, I don't need it. Highlight it, get rid of it, just like that, and so on. If I want to move this slightly, I can get rid of that. I'm going to actually click and drag that down to here, drop it there, and it's going to give me more room for what I need to do. Okay. All these points here, same thing, just click and drag. Okay, get rid of what I don't need, and so on. That's what we will just continue to do to get this set up to replicate our system. Okay, that's all you got to do so far. Now I've got some of the stuff moved around. I'm going to drop in another one of the sets of ductwork here, and I'm going to get it lined up. And you can see there again, it's covering up things that it don't need to cover up. So I'm simply going to get it lined up the way that I want it, and then bring up that menu again, and then send it to back. Okay, and there again, it reorders that stack, pulls my objects, the graphics objects, up to where I want them, where they're going to display on here properly. Okay, and there again, guys, you just need to play around with the order of this to understand it a little better. You can send it back one layer at a time, but these I know all need to be all the way at the back of the stack. So again, just bring it up, send it back, and so on. I've got that connection made. Okay, I've got all of that done so far. I've got those graphics objects still in there. And I'm just going to continue to add this in, get things in to where it makes it much easier for the way that I need the system to work. Okay, so we're just going to continue going through here. You can see all these points here, which I know I'm going to have to reorganize some of this stuff and move some of this stuff around and get it in there the way that I want it to be. But just remember, guys, the way that you set this up, spend the time on it, make it as useful as possible. Answer the questions that someone would have that's never been to your system or never looked at your system before. Set it up to where it will answer those questions. Okay, I've got to bring this back in, so I need to grab another T. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that one object and grab this one and bring it in here and drop it in as well. You can see there, and again, it's overriding, laying on top of a lot of this other stuff, so I need to reorganize that and get it set up the way that it needs to be. But again, guys, I'm just going to continue. You can kind of understand the basics of this. I'm just going to continue working on this, and just to show you how this can be done. And there again, guys, getting you more information as much as possible into your hands. Just covering that up. I don't like it. There again, I just go in, change the order of that stack. That's all that I've got to do here. Now you can kind of see how we have this set up, and I still need to add some objects. There's still more cleanup to do. I'm going to pull up my palette here, and what I need to do is I need to add a set of dampers. Okay, this is basically a bypass section is what I'm trying to build here. So what I'm going to do here, I have my palette. You can see all of the different objects that I have here, vertical, horizontal dampers, and so on. I'm going to grab a set of these dampers and simply click and drag them out into where I want them. Okay, and when I let go, boom, it's going to just snap it right into place. I can move it around a little bit, clean it up a little bit to get it exactly where I want it to make it look as nice as possible. Make it nice and neat. Don't have gaps and stuff like that, especially if you're doing this for someone else. Make sure that it looks good, because if it doesn't look good, if you're somebody like me, I can look at a graphic, and if somebody does a sloppy job on a graphic, I'm not happy. It's that plain and simple. Now then, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the link button, and I'm going to drill down to the point that controls this damper. Okay, and there again, guys, simply highlight that, just click that object, and you can see here, this is where I would add links, navigation links, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to simply find the point that I need that controls this, that bypass damper point. Okay, and then I can simply grab that point and drag it over here onto my object, or into this little area, this little menu, and drop it. Okay, here's my value. It's kind of in a bad spot, so I'm just going to grab it and drag it down here. Okay, you can see there now I have my value. I have where that value will display at for this damper. Okay, very easy to do. But now I need to add the other side of it, so I'm going to grab another one of these dampers. Only this time I'm going to use one of the horizontal dampers. Okay, just to show you how this works, I can grab that, drag it in there, drop it in place, just like this. Now that damper, basically both of these dampers are controlled by the same point. And it jumped around on me. Hang on just a minute while I go in and fix this real quick, guys. Sometimes it wants to get a little squirrely for some reason. I don't know why it does that, but this is just one of those little quirks about the system that that we have to overcome, that we got to learn to work around. Okay, so now here's that other damper. Okay, I'm simply going to do the same thing that I did a moment ago, and I'm going to bind this to that same point. Okay, very easy to do. And it jumped over again on me, so bear with me just a moment while I get this fixed real quick. Now I'm going to bring my panel down. Let's grab this set of dampers. We had just a little bit of technical issues we had to fix. I'm going to grab it and drag it out here and drop it, and then I'm just going to use my arrow keys to fine tune it to get it right where I want it to be. The whole time that I have an object, one of the graphics objects up, it will have this little menu, and that's how I can interact with it. Simply get it where I want it, and then I am going to hit my link button, and I'm going to grab the control point for that. Okay, you can do a lot with this. Okay, there's a lot you can do with this. You can actually have things linked to other graphics and other systems and things like that. For this, I'm simply going to grab the command, drag it and drop it to here, and that way I will link that to the same command point that other damper is linked to. If I don't want that text to display, I simply go in and uncheck it. Okay, since I've already got it on this one, okay, simply go back in here. I've got this menu again, and I can do my graphics. I can make it change the animations and things like that, but having this menu up here with the links, I only need this, since it's controlled to by the same point, I only need it tied or displaying just one of the points. Okay, it's all I need it to. I don't need it to display 2 points for the same output. Okay, you can use this for other things too. You can go in and actually link your chill water coils under this navigation tab. You could literally grab your chill water system, drag it into there, and if someone clicked that coil, it would take you to the chill water coil, to the chill water system or whatever. I mean, there's a lot you can do here. Okay, so there again, guys, make it as functional for you as you can. It will make your life a much easier going forward. This menu is very useful. You can go in and you can see here, got just a little bit of an error, and go in through here. And there again, guys, this is loading up the server pretty heavy, so it takes a little bit of work to do some of this the way that I'm doing it. But having this linked in, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to pull it down to where I want it to appear, and again, I only need one text to appear. I do not need multiple. Okay, that is my point that is going to affect both sets of those dampers. Okay, and I want to make sure that I have them set up the way that I want them to be. And again, it's just a single point. You can see here I don't have all of this refreshed yet. Let's go in here and hit the refresh button real quick just to show you an update of what we got. It's going to take it just a moment, and here it is. You can see those dampers appearing. You can see that I have my data. You can see that I've currently got an override on this, and notice how those appear. You can see here that both of them are appearing the same as far as their animation. Okay, it appears that that they are open. I'm just kind of scrolling around here looking over everything, and that's something that I can change. Okay, it's showing both sets of these dampers. Currently, the way the graphic looks, it's showing them open, and that is something that I can change in here. Okay, once I know which one, what position I'm in and all that, I'm simply going to highlight this one, and then I'm going to go back into my animation and edit that. I'm going to go back here to this one point where the link point to where I pulled that command in, and this is where you can go in and change the way that it's going to animate itself. Okay, bear with me just a moment. It takes just a moment to get this to populate. So what I'll do is I will go in here. I want these to operate backwards, to get that animation working right. I want them to work backwards to where it's going to display backwards. So I highlight my graphic object. I go back to the link option, and that screen jumps around a little bit because it pulls up the points. This little box right here is what I need. Okay, I simply click in here, and I have this option for calculating inverse. So what I will do for this one is I will simply check that and then hit save, and then I'm going to save that change to my graphic. Okay, and then I'm going to do a refresh. Notice the way that those dampers currently look, but once I do the refresh, I want you to notice the change. Okay, you will see that change very quickly. Okay, you can see there now this one set of dampers is showing closed. That's just one of those little things It's just a nice little detail and is something that you can use to help your system just look a little bit better. That's a very useful tool, a very neat way of making your system just a nice little trick, nice little detail that will work in your system. Okay, it's a very functional system, and you know, you're doing this work, you might as well make it look good. That's all there is to it. You got to do the work anyway, so just do it right, make it look good. Okay, save yourself some time, save yourself some trouble, and make the system function for your needs. Now, if I go in here to these systems here, you know, you can see my coils, and this is what I'm talking about as far as some of this other stuff. I'm just going to go ahead, move this around a bit, get these points in a little bit better alignment because of how they currently are. Getting this set up the way that I need it to be, just organizing it, get them aligned up, and making it to where they're going to appear much better and much cleaner on the system. I want to take some time to show you something that I'd mentioned earlier, and I talked about how that you can use that navigation tree, that navigation link, to link to other systems from your graphic. You can see here, this is what I'm talking about, this navigation block. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll over here to my panel, to my palette, and I'm going to go to explicit. And this is going to bring up all of the different systems, the different controllers and things like that on my system. And what I'm going to do is simply go in and grab the chilled water system or hot water system or whatever else that I want to tie this to. And I'm simply going to grab it and I'm going to drag it and drop it into that navigation tab. Okay, and there again, guys, this is just another little useful tool. This one here, what I'm going to do I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to grab my hot water system. And since this is reheating or whatever, you know, that way I can grab the hot water system and I'm going to link it to this. And that way, when you're trying to do some troubleshooting, you can go in and actually simply click on that coil and it will take you straight to the system that is serving that coil. Okay. And there again, guys, you can use the same type of logic, the same type of thinking throughout your system. Okay, just depending on how you have it set up. Now I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to go back over to my main page. I'm going to do a refresh to show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Once I get this refreshed, I've got this window that is populated. And there again, guys, there's still a lot of cleanup to do on this, but I wanted to show you how this stuff works is my main focus here. Now that I've got this, I've got the chill water coil, the cooling coil and things here, and I've got my hot water coil. What happens if I click this coil? I'm going to click that coil, and what it's going to do is take me to my chilled water system. Okay, there again, for this, it's just a two-pipe system being served by a central plant, but I can see my flows, I can see my temperature, and all that kind of stuff. That's just another one of those tools, another one of those things that you can incorporate in with your graphics that are going to make your job a lot easier. You know, make it simple, guys. It's the same here. Click on the hot water system. Boom, there's my hot water system. That way, you know, just using it to do a little troubleshooting instead of having to go back, find it, I can just click that coil, and there it is. There's my hot water system. Makes it appear and has it just right there at my fingertips within the system the way that I want it to be. Guys, if you have any questions, leave those down below in the comments. Also, again, guys, I'd appreciate it if you would help support the channel either by shopping through the affiliate links. There's memberships, there's other things to help support what we do here. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel, and we'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm.